me included, so that people get the general context, and then we can open it up for questions.
Sure, sir. That will be great also. So, Divya, you want to start or you want me to start?
Go ahead, Kanige sir. I'll follow your lead.
Okay, that's great. Anyway, good evening, one and all. So, I'd like to share my what happened with my COVID experience. Actually, I got on 12th, I suppose. So, on April 12th, I fell sick. So, after that, I just tell about how the symptoms started and how I went through all the stages. So it started on 12th, and normally it started as a kind of a cold and fever. So I thought it's a normal cold. So I was just eating some watermelon. I thought probably because of that I might have got to this cold and fever. Then after 2-3 days, the fever was going a little bit higher, and then I just called my sister and told me that it is prolonging this one. Then she immediately asked me, do you have smell and taste? Then I remember I have lost it. Then I was just trying to smell anything. I was not able to smell anything. And I thought because of the fever I was not able to get the taste. Then I remember this one. Then and actually eventually my wife's sister is also a government doctor, and I also called them and told, no, it is 100% COVID symptoms. You have to immediately get yourself isolated. So then I moved to a different room, and I have to take care of all my things and those things. So, and from the third day again the fever a little bit got higher. And what happened was after the third day I was feeling very tired, and my body pain also got very higher. So only thing, the thing they told me that every 5 hours there will be a change in your temperature, body and symptoms. So I was being monitored by every 5 hours. So what happened? One of the things is that you get very, thirsty. So I really used to have 2 water bottles in my chest. So I never have drank such a lot of water in my life itself. I don't remember. Because I got very dehydrated, and I am very sure after at least 3-4 hours I used to drink 2 bottles. And I think where is that water itself going, I don't know. So dehydration is one of the symptoms, because that is also was very, I think I want to update people who will come across. But one thing I want to tell, next thing is your immunity thing. After this thing, it tests your immunity very badly. I have lost, sometimes I was not able to lift my syrup bottle itself. I went very bad. I was telling Meena, and I was telling whomever who was calling me. So that sort of weakness it comes, and going, even standing up sometimes was a little bit hard work for me. Then after I was just counting the days. They told this will happen after 6th day and those things. So only thing I was asked to, I could not get breathlessness and the oxygen level. So I was having the oximeter, and was checking these things, and they told that you should not have those things, please monitor this. Then after 8th day, little bit of recovery started, and slowly the fever symptoms went, and only the cough and body pain was there, and it was normal tablets only. It is very simple tablets like paracetamol and multivitamins. And after 9th day, I was given normal this one. I forgot that name. I just come back to that. And some normal cetirizine tablets. they have given me for that cough and those things. So after 11th day, I was feeling a little bit okay. So much of the symptoms reduced after the 10th day, and closely after 13th, 14th day, I was almost normal, except my cough and little bit of breathlessness was there. But after the 14th day, I was fully recovered, and even now I'm fully fit and fine, except the smell is not a little bit. I'm able to smell now, but not fully. So this what happened. This is what my experience of COVID. So any questions on this? Anybody?
Yeah, finally I have a question. Did you take the RT-PCR again to check whether it's negative?
No. That's what. See, thing is that I had sugar. Okay. So they have not asked me to take the test also. So they told me that as soon whatever the symptoms I took this one blood test and those things. But they took me, asked me not to take those tests because the crowd here, the place is very crowded. They told if you go, you might get more viral infection.
Yeah.
So if it's necessary, we will take it. That's what I was not advised to take. Even the CT scan, they asked me not to take.
Okay.
Okay, my symptoms was not very much high.
I think you should have fallen in the medium cadre, not to I think you should have fallen in the medium cadre, not the severe.
Yeah.
That's all. Thanks.
Everyone is here, Divya?
Yeah, thank you, Dhananjay sir. That was really helpful knowing how you struggled and how you battled through your experience. Actually, I also tested positive around the end of March, I guess. But I was asymptomatic, so I had actually no symptoms at all. It all started when my grandma started feeling ill in the week of March. And then my dad also started feeling a bit ill. Since my grandma was 90 years old, and she passed away. But she passed away of old age, not because of COVID. But again, we wanted to be sure we got her tested and everything. So, first they took a CT scan and thought she had COVID, and so they had moved her to one of the COVID centers. And I was the one with my grandma who was taking care of her there at the COVID center and everything. She was very old, with somebody her there. So, I cautiously checked myself because I was at the COVID center. And in a few days, I also tested positive, but again, I had no symptoms. I was asymptomatic. But again, I understood that I could be a carrier and I had to be careful and I had responsibilities. So I quarantined myself at home. And my dad and some of my cousins also tested positive. So all of us were quarantined at home. It was all really overwhelming. I mean, we didn't expect that. My grandma passed away, and then we were isolated. It was just too much. I think the most symptom that is spoken of most is depression. Because I felt very depressed in those days because we were isolated. I'm used to being in a joint family. So I understood that we were privileged people, and even for us, it was very overwhelming. So a lot of people do not have the privilege of staying safe. What is giving me days off from the loss to recover from whatever was happening at home. But a lot of people do not have that privilege. So again, we did take the medications. I felt very tired. But again, I was given only vitamin tablets. And then we all started recovering quickly. And I think the best we could do was, look out for videos and free food. We ran a so tried finding out COVID patients that needed help. We would try to get legitimate NGOs and helping. That was what we could do, and yeah, large effect. So that was pretty much our journey, and all of us we're falling into COVID restriction, COVID and everything. So, yeah, that was it for Friday.
So Divya, did you consult a medical practitioner or hospital? How did you manage that?
Yes, sir, I did consult for general physicians. We got a letter from the doctor stating that I was myself. That was one of the main processes we had to get done. And our doctor gave me a tablet. I mean, my oxygen levels, my pulse. He told that I was facing. But for boosting up my immunity, he gave me some vitamin tablets, asked me to eat a lot of vegetables. But again, for the older people at my home, we were prescribed medicine for body pain, headache, and so on. So none of us were actually asked to be admitted in hospital. Home quarantine. So yeah, that was my journey. COVID, and as I said, depression was the because I'm used to being around a lot of people, being isolated and not doing anything at all, feeling tired, really motivated me. I tried occupying myself with a lot of comfort activities like reading shows.
Sure. Thanks, Divya.
Yeah.
So before I start, I just want to request everyone. This is such an important session for all of us because of the situation we are in as a country today. The reason why I suggested this to Veena was to share our experience, not just to understand what each of us went through, but more importantly, to be prepared, at least as much as we can, to face this. That is the reason why we've had this session. So I will briefly talk about my experience, but after that, I would want all our team members to ask any question which is coming into your mind, because it is not that we are experts, but one, we have our personal experience, and two, because of this, we are forced to learn a little bit more. At least I started watching some of the doctor programs and all kind of advice from experts to everywhere. So it is important, and there are a lot of things which we should be ready, whether it hits us or any of our family members. So please make use of this session, and that is our thought. Okay, coming to my experience, I think like Divya mentioned, we were all quite privileged and maybe fortunate to get away with the very mild to moderate kind of symptoms. None of us need to step into hospital. Not that it was possible, because the place where I'm staying in Bangalore, even if we had wanted to access hospital, it was not possible. Everybody denied, actually, including the doctors we spoke to. But again, the first thing which strikes you is that you don't realize that you are vulnerable. You always think that it won't happen to us. I think that's our common belief all of us have, right? My neighbor will have, my friends will have, but it will somehow not come to me because I'm different. This is our inherent belief. You may not articulate it. It was very clear in my case. First, my wife, who fell ill, she was experiencing body pain, fever, and all of that. But it didn't even strike us that this could be COVID, because we generally, she doesn't fall sick. She's pretty strong, and I've never seen her take any sick leave in our organization, etc. So we never even thought it is beginning of COVID. So we probably lost about 3-4 days there itself. This is the biggest lesson for all of us. I think even, or to be on the other side of caution, we have to treat the symptoms very, very carefully, because we also know that the RT-PCR test or whatever test the norm is not the only way to know this, especially in the second wave. Second wave, we are hearing more and more cases who have not tested positive, but have developed all the symptoms by the time you reach 4th or 5th day. So I think the first lesson I want to all of us to learn from my experience is, please don't ignore even the simplest of symptoms. It was staring at our face, right? Body pain, continuous fever, and unable to move. But we didn't conclude it as a COVID at all. And then, next part, okay, she got tested. So we thought it won't come to us. Why will it come to us? We are all, I was traveling, in fact the previous week I was in Vijayawada, I had gone to Hyderabad. So I thought we had traveled and things are normal, nothing will happen. It is just that the gentleman who had come to take the test, he suggested that why don't you, all of you guys do a test. Otherwise we won't even test it. And then we tested, and immediately 3 out of 4 members turned out to be positive, including my 12-year-old second daughter. Then we were a little worried. Then we started looking at the symptoms. Then of course the same patterns followed: fever, the body pain, and in my case it was additional cold and cough, but not much as a fever. So I would say among the 3 of us, I was a little more fortunate because I didn't even have to go through all these symptoms. I'll probably be categorized in the mild category. But the lesson again is access to medical facility or a doctor or a hospital is a must. Because everything is a cycle. Like I said, first thing when we realized, then we had to access to a physician. We didn't know anybody in the city, and we tried some of our friends and hospitals, online booking and everything, but nothing was available immediately. And then when we managed, and this is around the time when we had the Yugadi festival in Karnataka, even the biggest hospital, I was very surprised, even the largest hospitals were closed for OPD. So saying doctors could not be accessed even on telephone. And then it extended, worst thing is it extended for 3 days, because 13th was Yugadi, 14th was I think Ambedkar Jayanti and Tamil New Year, and some other happened. So almost 3 days, full days, we just couldn't get doctor. It's just that we are fortunate that our symptoms are not getting worse, so we could manage. And then what happens, the first thing doctor asks you to do blood tests. Because he's also not sure that you can just start treating. He of course listen to the symptoms. He must have understood that we are not that serious at this time, but I will explain later. The most critical period is the 5th, 6th, 7th day, and you don't even know when to start counting. These are some of the learnings which are very, very important for us, because in our case, we tested on a Sunday, and we tested after 3 days, 4 days of observing my wife, which means our day 1 could have started much earlier. And by the time we were struggling with the access to the doctors, it actually would have been a severe case. Any of us could have turned out to be severe. We didn't even realize that at that time. Now I'm saying with hindsight, the mistakes we have done. So naturally, when we managed to meet the doctor said, bring the tests 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? All of them were blood tests. Again, look at logistics. I'm talking a little bit more detail because this is more very practical. All of us will face. Because we are COVID positive, we can't move from home, and it has to be done at home. So which means we need to book for blood tests to be done at home. And now everywhere, at least in Bangalore, I'm sure it's there in many cities. In many cities, we may not even have this facility and privilege. This is something which you need to think through. So they said you need to book 24 hours in advance, which means if I were to get somebody tomorrow morning to visit my home, I should have booked today. But by the time we got the doctor and spoke to him, it was quite late in the evening. So we lost 1 more day. Then this test came. And test normally 24 hours. Even RT-PCR, what is promised is 24 PS. But in our case, nothing happened in 24 hours. Minimum, it took 3 days for us to take any test. So just imagine from the day we tested till we actually could present the blood test to the doctor to see, it was almost 6th day, 7th day. It is pure fortune and lucky moment. But just imagine what else anybody could have done to reduce this cycle, except starting early. Because nothing else is in your control. Access to the doctor, or the test or the physicians is not in your control, and their own protocol, their demand is going by the day. So much so that the people who would come to conduct all the tests in my home, because every day one of the others were doing some other test. They were not even wearing PPE. There was no time. But I had to ask them to step out of home so that we could go out of home and get tested rather than him coming and getting infected from our home. He was not in a position to either wait or wear all the PPE kit, take all the precautions to do this because the demand on them was so high. They probably had to cover so many people in so much delays. So these are some of the practical part of what we need to go through. So, in summary, yes, we had to go through all the cycle and then we took the antiviral medication. Again, same thing happened. The doctor prescribed the medication and we thought that, okay, we could always buy medicines. So he must have done it for 14 days and we must have bought it for 6 days, 7 days. When we went to the 7th day, I was just casually asking the online supplier to supply the medicine. He said not available. Then I didn't take it seriously. Then I thought maybe the second half it will come. So I asked him in the evening again. He said not available. Then I got a little doubt. Then I started asking neighbors, then asked the other pharmacies. Then I checked out online pharmacies. Won't believe that not the remdesivir. Remdesivir is for the hospitalization. There's another thing called favipiravir or Faviflu or something like that. That medicine was not available in Bangalore for 2 days. It is not, didn't make news or it didn't make that kind of creation. Maybe it was just a supply chain thing. So that I had to call my brother in Chennai to buy, and then of course they wanted prescription, so on and so forth. Then actually he had bought and couriered one set of medicine, and then the 3rd day we got it. So the point I'm trying to make is, one, be prepared. It could be any one of us. There is no reason, there is no reasonable logic to even establish the tracing part, which was the first wave. And imagine the human tendency, because in our own family, in the first wave, both my parents got COVID and both were 70 plus. They were very serious. They were admitted in hospital. They were in ICU for 20-25 days. I had rushed here and there from Chennai to Bangalore. I myself wore PPE to go to the hospital, did all these things, but yet when it comes to you, you think somehow things won't happen to you. So I think that's the first mindset we should get out of and start acting very quickly. And I'll just summarize 2 or 3 things we should do, then we'll open it up for questions. First thing, when we are positive, is that by government protocol and by our own safety and for family members, you would not be able to move around. So whether you're in a room or a home, doesn't matter, you will not be able to move out. Which means there are certain basic things. One is your thermometer, because normally we don't at home, many people don't have thermometer. In fact, when we were struggling, we used some old thermometer which we are not even sure whether it was working or not. Then when I had to buy medicine, I had to buy a new thermometer. So please check. It's the simplest of the thing, but we normally don't do a check whether it's working or not. It might be part of your first aid kit, which is 5-year-old and expired. So please check and ensure that there is a good thermometer at home. Second, which is very, very critical right now, which is normally not even heard in our vocabulary, is your oximeter, pulse oximeter. Again, when I went and checked, it was not available in Amazon at that time, even the popular brands. So today I am told the market is flooded with Chinese model, this make, that make, whatever, it doesn't matter. Even if whatever is the model, please procure one and keep it with you. This is the second precaution we should take, because without these two, you will not be able to manage many of the symptoms. Third thing, which is a little difficult because I'm still trying to figure out, but I'm just telling it in advance because I'm really worried about the spread for the next 1 month, which is access to oxygen. We must have all seen the television, media, reports everywhere that people are struggling with the oxygen. And going by my own experience, in the first phase, even when my parents were hospitalized, this word oxygen was never in the vocabulary. It was not part of anybody's conversation. We didn't doubt whether hospital will have oxygen, whether my parents will require and all of that. Yes, they were struggling for breath. They were under oxygen, but the shortage of oxygen was not discussed. Hospital beds were in shortage, but that was not as bad as today. And two, these days, the small hospitals, many small hospitals, because they don't have access to oxygen, they're asking patients to bring their own oxygen cylinder. And today, believe me, in Bangalore, I said it's not even possible. Even in Chennai, because my parents required oxygen support last time, even after when they were out of hospital for a fairly long time. So we had to actually buy the concentrator, hire concentrator and keep it at home for a while. Now, I tried reaching them through my brothers. None of them is available. The rentals used to be about 5 to 6K per month. The rentals have already gone to 40, 50K, but even at that rental, it's not available today. So even though we may not require right now, I'm really hoping that none of us will ever require this. But if you were to be prepared, if you were to look at any kind of precaution, start talking to your friends in multiple cities, different places to see how to procure a smallest possible cylinder. Because compared to phase 1, where if you remember, cough used to be the biggest symptom which was identified for the COVID. When my own parents, that's what happened. Third day, fourth day, they just couldn't speak because they were full of cough. But in this phase, from whatever we're hearing, observing, cough doesn't seem to be the biggest issue, whereas the oxygen level dipping is extremely becoming common. And even healthy people, young people, it is not discriminating this time. So you can clearly see that that could be a situation. And then unlike the medication, doctor, this doesn't require a hospital or a doctor. If you see all of the medical experts talking about right now, a lot of fatalities happening today, not because of COVID. It is because of lack of oxygen or timely help. And it is the simplest of things. All of us breathe oxygen, right? It's not something which we take it as a special case. But when your body is under the viral threat, and when you are going through all these difficulties, naturally the body needs the external support. It's a requirement. So the third thing, I don't have a solution, but I would want you guys to think through, even though it is on the cautious side, because that is one thing which you cannot start thinking after the event has occurred. So these are my 3 summary points on this part, and there are some more points I wanted to explain, but I'll keep it open right now so that you guys can ask questions, and then depending on that, Tanigai or Divya or me would answer queries. Anything which comes to your mind to ask us.
Hello, sir. This is Shrikeka. Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Hi, sir. So you were saying that even your parents were affected with COVID, right, sir? So are they vaccinated, and before COVID, did they take the vaccine?
Okay, so good question. But this is my parents were affected in the first wave. So at that time, the vaccination thing itself was not there. Vaccine itself was not there.
Okay.
If you remember, I think we are all forgetting our memories. In the first phase,
Yeah.
the country was worried, and we are all worried about the thing, but vaccine was not yet available. So there is no question of vaccination. But yes, after the hospitalization, and after they developed some antibodies for 3 months, so now in the vaccination phase which is available, my mother we got vaccinated 2 rounds. My father got 1 round, so he get probably another 3-4 weeks. So yes, it is important to get vaccinated. That is probably the only way we can manage. Irrespective of whether you got COVID or not is not relevant. Because depending on the individual bodies, because if there is a queue and you would like to give it to others. But for us, irrespective of age, whenever the option is in front of us, we should vaccinate.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir. This is Shanmugaraj. I have a question like everyone is recommending the vaccination should be taken. But some of the doctors are saying it is good that we have to do certain tests like whether do we have any heart problems and all. And then after that, if you are going to take this vaccination, that will be good, because we also heard some recent deaths in Tamil Nadu. The famous people like Vivek and KV Anand, they took the vaccination recently. So people are thinking a lot to take the vaccination to fight against COVID. So what is your suggestion?
No, it is not. See, it's very misleading to look at the news headlines and draw our conclusion. Look at it this way. Forget our Tamil Nadu. The vaccination is for the world, right?
Yes,
It's not Tamil Nadu specific, or the medicine which we are receiving Chennai is very different from any other country or so. So this is a global problem, and as a humankind, the only difference we have is vaccination.
Okay.
Yes, the point is taken. What you're saying is that, yeah, for some people, the vaccination triggers unexpected issues, and it might result in complication. We've had just not the celebrities, even our own relatives, families going through that. I know if Pritesh is in the call. Pritesh's uncle had the same situation. He had passed away.
Oh.
But notwithstanding all of this, there is no, even in West today, there is a lot of debate about the blood clots getting done after the vaccination is done. So please understand that vaccination is not perfect. And in fact, in our history, no vaccine has been made available to humankind in such a short time. If you remember our own discussions, like I just now said, the first wave, nobody was hoping that the vaccine would hit so soon.
Yes.
So yes, there is going to be issue, and you should take precaution in terms of asking your doctor. Myself, I had the same issue. I was debating whether to take vaccination or not because of my own medical condition. I was trying to consult my doctor.
Okay.
But like all our plan, that never happens. The COVID happens first. So it is not what happens to you. Yes, it is preferable to consult a doctor if you are a little worried. But in general, there is nothing to be worried about the vaccination causing COVID or vaccination causing any other disturbance. All that is not to be worried. It is our best defense we have. Like I said, if you are worried about individual case, if there are concerns about your health, then you should definitely take consultation from the doctor. There's nothing wrong. Medical practitioner will be able to tell us much better than what I can say. But it is not a reason for not approaching this.
Okay, sir. Okay.
See, if you look at the Western countries, Israel, US even today, they have announced that you don't have to wear masks also.
Yes.
Because herd immunity has hit and bulk of the population is being vaccinated.
Okay.
So, I mean, I wish we could say that in one of our small districts, but our own constraint planning are there. But you can see what is happening. It is not that it's only just because the celebrity passed away that things will happen that way. Yes, media would like to portray that way, or we would like to infer naturally the risks which are getting disproportionately high. But you should look at humanity in total. It is the same medicines, same vaccine across the world, and there's nothing which suggests that vaccine per se is creating problem. It's actually solving more problem than the mild issues it might create. And to be on the safe side, you do take advice and be prepared if you are a little concerned about it.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, sir. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Please ask.
Savina here.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. Sorry, I joined a bit late. Yeah. So I just had a question, sir. So people are very scared about COVID as such. I mean, most of them are like, they don't know what is going to happen once they are hit by COVID.
Correct.
Because everybody has a different story to narrate about their COVID experience. So when you were tested positive, was there a panic, and how did you handle that panic? Because I think that is one phase which everybody will go through if they are tested positive.
No, absolutely, Veena. I think I am very thankful you asked this question, because I have seen this, like I said, in very varied scenarios, right? My wife's colleague he is just what, 31 or 32, right? He also had the mildest symptoms. It's not that he had any different symptoms, but the point what you raised was very valid. See, they're a big joint family of 12 people, and only he got positive, and he's got 2 young kids. And you won't believe that this gentleman was actually crying in the second day, because he really believed that it's going to be something really drastic and fatal to him. What will happen to the children and this and that and everything. We just couldn't console at all of people reacting to that. And then he is also worried about the fact that in his place, he was the only one who was identified. So there were a lot of this BBMP teams visiting and questioning him and start kind of isolating him in the society. So just imagine all kind of things which happen to people, which you don't even realize or think it's part of your life, but it is very, very normal. I think being scared is all right. That is my first observation. In fact, to some extent, you should be a little bit scared. And coming back to how do you handle, what is your reaction, so on and so forth. Yes, I was worried, primarily because of my general physical health and pre-existing conditions. So naturally, the complexities might go through that. But how do you handle it is one step at a time, because the protocols are very, very, very clear. In fact, this is one thing I wanted to explain to everybody. You may know this, but it's better to kind of listen again. See, today, if you look at this COVID, the entire journey, you can split into 2 parts, the first 7 days and the next 7 days. Even Tanike talked about the recovery in the second phase, right? What they have observed, what medical practitioners tell us, and what still happens in Tamil Nadu and Chennai. I don't know, Tanike, did you have to take the CT scan?
No, sir, I didn't take it.
Okay, because when we were in Chennai, that is the first thing which many doctors recommended. After you tested the positive, or even when you went to hospital, they did the CT scan first to see the impact of the COVID on the lungs.
Yes, yes.
Whereas in Karnataka, in Bangalore, the protocol is very different. Nobody recommends CT scan because one, you need to physically go to the hospital, because there is going to be a major issue for a COVID positive patient to land up in the hospital. So here the medical practitioners see a different way of looking at it. They look at the oxygen thing first, look at the symptoms, and only when you really go down in that path, then you're looking at CT scanning it. All the prescription they write, CT scan only if your chest congestion is high or continuous cough is there. So the things vary, but what I'm saying is what they've observed. First few days get lost in identifying which is day 1, the positive symptoms and things like that. So nobody realizes the seriousness, or even the symptoms don't really get worse in the first 2-3 days. But yes, for the difference between a mild and a moderate and a COVID severe patient starts happening in the end of first phase and the beginning of the second phase. So day 5, 6, 7, 8, I would say, is probably the extremely critical point. So for all those people who are listening to me right now, don't panic on day 1, whether it's for you or your parents or anybody else. In fact, on the other hand, you should be prepared. If you know that day 1 is going to happen, then just think ahead for days 5 days, 6 days, and there's enough time. There's no need to panic, because you can have access to a medical practitioner, or you can even start thinking about a hospital if required, and so on and so forth. So all the complications, if at all, are going to happen after day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8. So that is one little bit of an advantage you have if you start really looking at it carefully. The second part is, yes, in that phase, nobody can predict which way you will turn. There are umpteen number of cases where they've gone through the first phase with minimal impact or very mild symptoms, but things becoming pretty bad in the last few days. And then the time gap between what you have access to hospital and the way you realize the symptoms is very, very less. So your action window becomes very, very less. So therefore, first thing, please realize it's 2 phases. First phase, really no need to panic. In fact, I would say, I'm listening to a lot of doctors say, don't even take a lot of medications, because there's a tendency, again, I'm talking more from a Chennai point of view, that a lot of medication includes steroids. People who have gone through, your friends, you would have heard this. My own parents also, we saw them. They give a battery of medicines which include steroids also. But today what doctors say is that in the first phase, the two things which are really critical are your paracetamol and multivitamins. Paracetamol on any form, Dolo, whatever it is, to reduce your temperature, to maintain it in control. And as long as the temperature is in control, it is fine. Because all of us must have experienced viral fever when we were kids. Viral fevers will stay for a long time. It don't go overnight. In fact, typically you would have seen the fever getting better with medicines. Then you will sweat a lot. You think the fever is gone. But by then in the evening and night, the fever will come back. This used to be our pattern for any viral fever. COVID is no different, except the name makes it more tense and people are worried. But the basic behavior is the same. Right? So there's nothing to worry in that phase. You control your fever, watch out for your oxygen levels, and take the multivitamins, you're all right. There's nothing which is required even at the highest level of hospitalization to home care. But yes, like I said, that start observing that 5, 6, 7 days. Again, one advantage here is nothing happens suddenly. It is not like a heart attack where you can't predict it all. Here, there are multiple factors. Non-stop fever. I talked about fever, right? So if you observe that by the time you reach third day, the fever is not reducing even though you're putting medicine. You have to take sometimes 2 tablets. So these are the warning signs. So uncontrolled fever or uncontrolled diarrhea, uncontrolled body pain, whatever you are experiencing, but you don't seem to be bringing back to control, that's a red flag. You don't have to worry about anything else. Then you know for sure that the battle between virus and the body, virus is gaining an upper hand, which means the virus needs to be treated. So my suggestion and observation is, no need to panic on day 1, day 2, day 3, but start planning. Start planning, start thinking of the worst situation, what could happen, and plan accordingly so that you are better prepared when things happen. And when you, all you need to do is to access medical care. Not that everyone needs to move around with a oxygen cylinder and so on and so forth. That is only for as a precaution I'm saying, because you cannot do that in second day, third day. Medicines you can buy, right? Doctors also you can access. If you have access, you can reach hospital within few hours. But you can't, given the current situation, procure or be sure of the oxygen. So it's better to start ahead a little bit. That is the context in which I'd say. But to answer the panic question, yes, there is a little bit of worry at the back end, what will happen. But you would have to just trust the system, you have to trust the hospital and whatever, do your individual things to keep yourself motivated. But most of the time, I think, like Tanike said, there's not much of time to think. Actually, even when I realized, body need to be hydrated. So continuously we were drinking hot water. Some of you would have observed me in the call also at that time. They used to keep drinking all the time. And then the body was just thinking about all of that. You are not really not thinking about complications. At least I couldn't think of it because of the symptoms. We are just fortunate to have the symptoms very, very mild, right? So only later when I went through that, let's say the day 8, day 9, then sometimes actually the oxygen dipped. So when you went through that, then you realize what could have happened. And in fact, somebody asked earlier about the RT-PCR test negative, should we take again? There's a very beautiful answer one of the doctors gave. He said, for any ailment, the only test is time. Not any RT-PCR negative, positive, whatever it is. Bodies have different kind of antibodies being developed. I might get tested, if I test today, I'm after 2 weeks now, I might still test positive. In fact, this is something which we heard even last time when the doctors advised us. There is no surety about the negative part of it. Positive, yes, if you are affected and it will show as positive, but depending on your antibodies, the negative test is not a mandatory. In fact, if you remember, government protocol also was not to do a negative crowd. They are actually counting 14 days and releasing patients. And in our case, in our parents, we insisted to give negative certificate. We are not sure how the community will react, because there's a lot of, that time there's a lot of resistance about neighbors and everybody. So we wanted to be sure. That's why we requested. But otherwise, people don't do that. Not required. Today also, I spoke to my doctor. He says the same thing. The only test is time. If you are all right, your symptoms are not there, and you are recovering your health, you will know it, or you can measure it, and that's good enough. You don't have to really complicate it further by daily testing how many antibodies in your bodies and things like that. So the second part is a little critical. Like I said, the only way we can handle this is to be prepared a little bit better. And if it's our own family members, give them the confidence. More importantly, the knowledge and the exposure is very useful, because otherwise it's just panic, right? Because we hear only the headlines which are worse and watch the television, which is really the extreme cases. But we all know that is not a typical case, and things don't get developed overnight. So like I said, keep watching these symptoms. The moment you realize that things are going in a little uncontrolled way, then I think you should reach out to the medical system, because there's nothing which you can do from internally you can do. And then once you are there, again going by my own personal experience of what my parents went through, it is actually end of the day, it's you versus virus. There's nothing else. No doctors, no medication, no experts, no surgeons, no oxygen cylinder can help you there. In fact, I still recollect the conversation I had with the doctors at that time, because both my parents were in ICU, both were struggling for breathing, and we were not sure, right? We were so feeling helpless outside, you can't even get there. I somehow managed to get in once, but after I was also thrown out. You are feeling so helpless to do what to do, because typically in any situation when you are, let's say, need a medical advice, you would want a next level expert to come and see, or you would want to see whether you want to shift to hospital and all of that kind of things which is going through in your mind. But in this case, the doctors were very clear. They're saying, you are all outside the hospital waiting for their bodies to fight back. We are sitting inside the hospital, we are also doing the same thing. We are not treating them. We are watching their body's reaction, and if there are symptoms, we are treating them. If there are complications which is arising with their blood circulation, we give them the thinner. If their lungs are getting infected, then we are trying to do something to treat the lungs. So we are not giving any treatment, we are only observing. And the human bodies are so blessed with the antigens or fighting back ability. And it is, to a large extent, I think you have to believe. It could be a faith in somebody's case, or it could be a personal willpower, or it depends on, and many people, doctors have also said that. I think in normal situation also people say that it is how you encounter. So after that I had a chance to talk to my parents also. Because we will see, unlike many other medical situation, let's say for example an accident or a heart attack, the patient is not in control, right? Once you are in hospital, you probably don't know what is happening around you. Maybe your family people are running around and doctors are running around, but as a patient, you are almost on the verge of not being conscious or in that situation. Whereas in this case, you or the patient is conscious 100% of the time. So you know exactly what is happening. So you really need a lot of strength, mental strength and willpower to believe in yourself. And that is the only thing which is required. In fact, that's what I heard from my parents also. They said actually at some point in time they really believed that they would come out. Because in their case, one same scenario, right? We thought that no, we will not get it. And even when we went to the hospital, the doctor said, okay, third day you can go home. So, but things change so rapidly, and you really don't know what hits you. But for us, people who are a little bit more aware, who can now even seek knowledge, there's a lot of things which you can be aware, which you can manage yourself, You don't need anybody's help. You just need your own body to fight back. And the body is already blessed with all the good things to fight back. You just need to not intervene in this process by scaring, by panicking, by creating trouble, by looking at... it is very natural. I'm not preaching here. It is very clear because I remember once in the night, my wife woke up and said she's not able to breathe and she's struggling and she's not even able to lie flat. So we are all very scared, middle of the night, right? But it suddenly struck me that we just wanted to know whether it is really happening or not. So I went and checked the oximeter. Oximeter is actually normal. It is that in your mind that maybe a little bit of something is happening in yourself. You think that it is the COVID which is striking you and you are panicking more than what is required. And even my kids used to complain that when they climb 4 steps, they used to say, I'm breathless, I'm not able to breathe and this and that. But actually we used to test and show, saying there is nothing significantly deteriorated in your oxygen levels. It is just that our psychological conditioning and the physical discomfort, everything we magnify, we tend to magnify at that point in time, which happens for any time. So even if you are normally having fear at home, you tend to think a lot of negative steps. So that happens a lot in COVID because of the name. But we all need to know, end of the day, it is no different from any other viral fever. Any of us must have had enough number of times during our school days. But we need to monitor it very closely. We need to watch out for symbols which are telling you that you are going out of control. Then seek the medical system, and then it's there also you are just shifting your position, but it's you versus the virus. End of the day. I don't know whether I answered this question, Meena, but this is something which I really wanted to tell people, that the 2 phases and the precaution at every stage is important and is much more valuable than any other medication anybody can give. Now you must have seen all the controversies about remdesivir and this and that, everything. It's all not relevant. This is a very extremely artificially created panic by our own people, because we are like that. Even I will be here like this. But if tomorrow remdesivir is not available for the entire country, nothing will happen. Medically, nothing is going to be different. Whatever risk we are having, we will continue to be the same level of risk. But we tend to believe that one medicine, one doctor, one hospital will change everything. No, it is your body versus your virus. Okay, sorry, I think it's too much of a gyan. So any other detailed specific questions?
Anybody else? You want to ask in Tamil also, you can ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I heard about methylene blue the day after yesterday. That methylene blue is a antiviral property, so it kills the virus inside the body, and it is effective on patient who has mild symptoms. But sir, as a microbiologist, methylene blue is also cancerous type. Then how we can prefer to use?
See, I am obviously not a doctor. I cannot comment on the individual things, but you raised an important point. Like I said, many of our people are now opting for self-medication. So, starting from our home remedies, right? But I was told turmeric and garlic and all kind of lists which are there for us to take care of ourselves. And the second one is the medication which we can procure from the local practitioner or somebody who's recommending an antiviral drug and so on and so forth. So here, because this is pandemic, right, there are very specific guidelines all of us need to follow. Then only the system can also work. So, one, if you ask me, home remedies, please do take. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's the immunity in your body versus the pathogen which is coming from outside. So the more you boost your immunity, it is better for us. And immunity, unlike what we normally perceive, is not strength. If a cricketer who's fit doesn't mean that he is immune. You've seen many of our cricketers falling ill, right? And even within the family, again, sorry, I'm going back to my personal experience. Between my father and my mother, we all thought my father is the stronger person because he's the one who does all the work. He's on his own. He travels alone even at 74, 75. My mother is always a little unwell. She has asthma. She has all kind of ailments. Her movements are restricted. But you will be surprised. In the ICU, we discovered my mother's immunity system was far better. She recovered faster because maybe the gender issue also was there at the COVID. I still there, I think. But my father took a longer time, and it was a surprise to him, to us, to everybody, to realize that how low the immunity level in his body was, contrary to exact opposite of what we normally feel. Even today, he can do more work than me physically. But physical strength or stamina is not an indicator of the immunity. Immunity will know only when things encounter. And when we are in the preparation stage, day 1, day 2, day 3, it's better to boost our immunity in whatever methods you believe in, home remedies or otherwise. And coming back to our question about a specific drug, as far as I know, India has approved only 2 antiviral drugs for medication. That is, one is your remdesivir, the other is the favipiravir. These are the 2 medications which the ICMR guidelines and central government have approved as a antiviral treatment. Now, anything else which you were to take, because medical practitioners can have their own views, as long as it is under medical guidance, we should be able to take that. But you will see when you go to a system, when you go to a hospital, for example, when they look at your prescription, they will be surprised if they find something other than these 2. So, to answer your queries, our knowledge, our science, or our academic experience, all that can be put to use, provided there is a medical guidance available to us instead of complete self-medication. I don't know whether I've answered that question, but that will be my answer.
Any other questions? We're close to 68 people.
So many people have logged in, but nobody has any questions. You can speak in Tamil, Kannada, Hindi, Telugu, Malayalam, English. Of course, I will answer only in English, but you can speak in any language.
We have people from Gadu also.
Oh, is it? Okay, please go ahead. You can speak in Hindi.
Gadu asked the question, previous question.
Oh, okay. Good. See, that's a good point also, Lina. I wanted to bring it. So, see, one thing what I want you guys to remember or act straight away, because we are coming from different parts of country. The practices are different. We are also in different parts of within the state, right? So, this is the time to get interested, to know about the infrastructure access what we have in our geography. Because what you see in media, a newspaper is one thing, but what you experience in your own hometown and your own nearest possible is the reality. And many times we don't pay attention. Like I won't know which is my closest diagnostic center, for example, right? So normally that's not what we are tuned for. But now I'm telling you, each and every step will suddenly become important. Simple blood test will become very critical, and you will get so much tense. Your parents will get so much tensed for things not working in place. So one homework which I want all of you to do, which I already said about thermometer, oximeter, and oxygen supply. Start doing some basic work. Start talking to your friends, family members, and all of this. And also find out your nearest diagnostics, nearest pharmacist, nearest hospital. Just find out what is happening around it. Because I know Prashant is there in the call or not, I don't know. He had to physically transport some of his relatives from Bangalore to Udupi because one, hospitals are not available in Bangalore, and even transport was not available. He was planning to even drive down himself, right? And then on top of it, when we were discussing this in the morning, 2 hours later, Karnataka government announced lockdown, and they said even inter-district movement is not allowed. So things can happen very quickly, change like that. So unfortunately for him and the government, they gave time. Unlike the last time, they said the announcement came 24 hours before. So he could actually arrange an Innova and shift the patients. So a lot of things I'm hearing like this, where the large cities are getting choked and people are moving 100, 250 kilometers away, where there is a little bit of a comfort or known hospital, or my parents know somebody. I think this is excellent in this case. Normally we tend to go to a large city in hoping that we'll get better treatment. In this case, I can clearly say it is the other way around. That you have access to a place, because like I said, there's no secret in the medication. The medication is known to everybody. Every doctor from the smallest hospital to Apollo to AIIMS know the medication. So there is no secret. It's not like that Apollo will treat better than some small hospital. That might be true for, let's say, some surgery in your leg for accident. May or may not be true, but at least that's a perception, right? The bigger hospital will treat you better. But here, that's not true at all. The medication is known to you. In Bangalore, at least, I'm surprised that all the medications are shared. So typically in a hospital, they will not share the prescription. They will keep all the medical records with themselves. But in Bangalore, what I'm encountering is that every doctor is putting it online. One is, the system itself is online because you're not moving. So they may be forced to do it, or whichever may be the reason. There is no secret anymore. Anybody can see all the medication which is getting mentioned. So, but timely help, timely intervention is the most critical thing. And you have seen this in many cases, right? People who are waiting for admission into hospital also had to tragically pass away because they didn't have the access to the oxygen. If they had only oxygen, and you will see that again in news, in many gurudwaras in North India, they opened up the equivalent of langar, where they used to feed people, poor people, free of money. Same way they are distributing oxygen by procuring cylinders, and you can see the patients lying, no hospital, no bed, nothing, just on the floor, on the gurudwaras. But everyone connected to an oxygen cylinder. This is a very shocking thing for us to see, but extremely effective. Because till you get your medical support, this will keep you survive forever. Because your oxygen levels, which are getting dipping because of your virus being active, is getting supplemented by the oxygen. Of course, you cannot continue forever. You have to fight back. But still, it gives you a valuable time to gain and to do things. So that is how we should be looking at it. So no need to worry about big hospitals. But access to a medical practitioner, access to a hospital, you please at least start planning. And going by all the predictions, in the month of May, if you look at in our country, we already touched 4 lakh, right? People are talking about reaching 10 lakhs. So I don't know, I hope it doesn't come true. But if and when that happens, and that is going to happen only in the month of May, the peak is going to be in the month of May, the biggest worry people have, all the experts today talking about, is not about medicine, not about remdesivir, not about the vaccination, which is what we are all worried about. The medical fraternity, the doctors who are crying on the media, they are worried, they are heartbroken. They are worried about manpower not being available. You might find a hospital with 10 beds. Today you might find 5 doctors, but tomorrow they are worried there will be only 1 doctor. There will be only 1 nurse because of the sheer demand. Just imagine if 4 lakhs we are struggling, at 10 lakh, their worry is that not that we will not have the infrastructure, because the country again is going in the wrong direction. If you see, because of this crisis, the entire industry from Tata to Infosys to all corporates, India, outside India, everybody is pumping oxygen into the country, which is good. I'm not saying it is a bad thing to do, but what we need to understand, what the real situation is going to be, the medical practitioners who are going to administer, who are going to monitor the patient, who are going to treat the patient is going to be in huge short supply. That is why I'm saying when we are near our small towns, when we are in Mailadurai or when we are looking at Udupi or even smaller places, Padubidri or any smaller places, if we have the local connect, if our parents are influenced or if we have friends who can influence, if we can know the hospital and the practitioners, that is going to be a great advantage. And that is all is required. Medication is standard, the protocol is standard, time is the only healer. Everyone has to go through the 14 days, whether it is Manmohan Singh or you. So all of us are the same boat. You will have to keep up your morale, you will have to fight your battle, not get panicked by the things around you. Be prepared and face 14 days, it's like any other viral fever. So start doing your homework today. That would be my request to all of you. Don't panic, but it doesn't hurt us to be prepared because it could be any one of us. And obviously when we look at our age profile, I don't expect many of our people get into even moderate syndrome. If at all it's going to be mild syndrome only. But we'll never know how your family members will react and how your neighbors would react. And even, like I said before, you'd be surprised with the immunity levels which we are displaying by ourselves. That is the biggest worry. The nutrition and all the things which we have not taken care in the past is going to pay here. That is the reason why so many young people are falling ill. And it is not dependent on physical strength or fitness at all. So be prepared, don't panic.
Yes, sir. Do we have any other questions, anybody?
This is Soumya here.
Yeah,
So, from whatever Mr. Mani and Tanigavel spoke, I don't know if Divya spoke about this. So, this 5 days is a golden period. Is it like how we, when we get a stroke, this 48 hours or 6 hours, they say. So, do we consider that as a golden period within the 5 days? Because the same pattern I saw with my aunt. My aunt passed away last week. 5 days she was down with very bad fever. 6th day hospitalized. 10th day she passed away. So are we seeing a pattern here of 5 days?
No, Samya, you're right that in the sense that the 5 days is important, but it is not the same equivalent as a golden hour. See, golden hour, if you intervene at that time, you can save the patient. That is why it's called golden hour, right? In any medical treatment. But here, it is important, but it is no amount of intervention at that time is going to guarantee you anything there. What I was saying was observing the pattern, because the many people tend to overlook the initial days, or we tend to convince ourselves, yeah, it will be like this 3 days, it will be all right, because fever will last for 4 days and things like that. What I was saying there was, we cannot intervene at that level, because if you look at the virus progression, right, the virus enters your body and starts fighting with the antibodies, whatever in the initial days, it causes disturbances, fever and this and that, and your body is, whatever naturally strength is pushing it down back. That is what happens in the first few days, right? Unless you are already down with immunity thing, where you deteriorate very fast, typically at that time you can see that, like I said, the fever will go very high, but it will come down.
Okay.
Body pain will be there, you will not be able to think, everything will be slow, but it will improve over a period of time. I used to experience this myself. Whenever I used to get up, first thing, because of the medication, you will not be able to get up quickly. See, when you normally get up from the bed, you won't realize that you in within a fraction of a second you will be actually sitting up, right? It's not a conscious movement, but here it's a big conscious movement. That is one of the biggest surprises for me. It is as if like you need to put a lot of effort to even get up and sit in your bed. And that itself will pull you down, thinking that there is something wrong with you. But nothing wrong with you, just that the body is reacting, the battle is happening within your system. And when I used to get up, I used to think that I used to make coffee and drink. But from the time the thought comes that you should drink coffee, and by the time you actually drink coffee, it will be about 25, 30, 40 minutes. It is that slow. That's how it is there. But coming back to your question, so therefore you cannot intervene in these 3-4 days to prevent something which is going to happen in the future. But like I said before, you can only spot, you can only spot the trend and try to arrest it quickly. Because I am simplifying it, saying that 2 antiviral drugs on the list of prescription, but I'm sure the medication, the experts have multiple options in terms of if A doesn't work, B will work, and what could be tried. That's why we are going to the hospital at that time, right? They at least can give a chance to look at the patient and react. See, my parents' experience, what they said was, they are watching for the symptoms and the body, then react. That is what they said. So if for example, in the 2 days, there's nothing changing in my parents' body, doctors won't intervene. But if something deteriorated, then they would have intervened. So this is the advantage we have with this system. So in your aunt's case also, if they had a little bit more access, then they would have tried multiple options. In the first few days, it is critical period in terms of observation, not as a cure, not as a prevention. So even if you put yourself in hospital day 1, that doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference at all. It is, like I said, it's your body which reacts, and there are excellent cases. Even when in the ICU, when I had to go, there are cases with people in 80s and 90s with all kind of complications walking in and walking out happily. And people in 20s and 30s going away.
We are not able to comprehend what happened to us. Where did we miss?
Yeah, no, I think that guilt, you don't have to have. It's natural to have that guilt, that we feeling that we could have done something better. This is what I felt when I went through personally when my parents were in ICU. They always think that, okay, what is that you could have done a little better to do something. But I think you don't have to really worry about it. And there are so much of humanity stories happening right now. It's very heartbreaking. One of my friends, her aunt is 80 plus, right? She's living alone in Bangalore. My friend is in Chennai. And she is not keeping well. So now this lady couldn't do anything because Bangalore is no hope for anybody today. And then she felt the same guilt, what you just now said, saying that, okay, if she's old and I'm here, I'm not able to do anything. So she took a cab on her own, left her husband, children, everybody. She visited this lady in Bangalore, stayed with her for 3 days, tried to take care of her, things like that thing, and now she is going back. So it is human nature to feel responsible for others or feeling guilty about our close relatives. I think we don't need to do that because this is such a pandemic and there's nothing wrong with the individual thing. But yes, it is unfortunate when we hear things like recent our car, for example. All of that is really heartbreaking when you hear it. But this is the curse for us. More than the physical ailments, the near and dear ones vanishing out of our lives. Such a rapid pace with no reason, no explanation, no time to say goodbye. All that is the
can't even see their face in the last minute.
I mean there are so many things. See, that is a typical tragedy for any of our losing people. But here the pace at which is happening. It puts you in a very difficult psychological thing. But you have to remain strong.
Yes.
No other option.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Nirmalya here. Good evening.
Nirmalya.
Great to see Manish sir and Thanike both fit and back, addressing us with so many valuable points. Mani, what you are saying that, doing a bit of homework and finding out what are the sources that we have is very important now because every day, while in the evening, there are phone calls coming from Delhi because I have been staying there. So people rushing for oxygen cylinders and all, it's very painful. So I have collated a list of people who are giving oxygen and helping, trying to help out people. So whenever you are doing this homework of your nearby locality also, not only you are ready to help others also. So that will be really a positive thing.
I think that's an excellent point you made, Nirmalya. Thanks for bringing it. I think being young and we are 1,000 strong. Not only we should take care of our own immediate family and friends, but any of us reaching out to anything in the local, and if you need organization help also, I think we should do that. In our own way, we are trying to be part of an initiative. Bangalore, Karnataka people will know BBMP is running call center right now to reach out to people to trace patients. You must have seen some headlines, 3,000 people missing in Bangalore after testing positive. Right? So there is an initiative which is being taken by some ex-Infosys team and rural shows and others. So we are also part of it. We've been talking to them. So we might, if they give permission, we might go live with about 100 people in this process, trying to help COVID positive patients. So the back-end dialogue is happening. So hopefully if the government gives permission, we will also be part of this initiative. But at point taken at individual level, whatever little we should do, we should definitely not hesitate. This is the best time to intervene.
Yes. The second point that you told, that going to smaller towns helps sometimes regarding. I just saw one of my friend. He came back from Delhi, so his hometown is somewhere around 55 minutes from Howrah, the Calcutta Howrah railway station. So he initially panicked. He did not get any hospital beds in Calcutta, but somehow he found a very good nursing home close to his residence, and they took excellent care of him. And just after the 9th day, while he was panicking the first 2-3 days, and I don't know because of the strain or what, initial 2-3 days the result came negative, but still the symptoms were on. So doctors said that we feel that this is the thing, we'll go for once again testing and all. So again they tested around 6th day, it came out positive. So he's now fit and fine after 8 to 9 days. So this point that you are saying, sometimes there is scarcity in the big cities now with all this influx. Maybe you can go towards a smaller neighborhood wherever you have access and medical facilities are still open, because the treatment is pretty standard. It's not very different. Yes. That's a very valid.
And even this oxygen problem, what I mentioned, see, in my view, this is only a passing phase. Maybe in 2 weeks from now, you will not hear about the oxygen again.
Yes.
Because we tend to focus on the shortcomings, the media highlights, the remdesivir and the oxygen, things like that. Like I said, in my view, it is a 1 versus 1 battle when it happens to your body. And there's a lot of positive in the entire way it is structured, the treatment is evolved and all of that. You just need to go through that with a little bit more patience and with less panic.
Yes.
So whatever helps you to do that, whether your family support, friend support, the local connects and everything is always useful, because that is what, even at that extreme medical condition, that is what helps us. Any other comments or questions? I hope everyone is listening carefully, because this is something unlike my normal speeches. I hope this will be listened carefully and implemented.
Yeah, listening, sir.
Hi, Sir Vijay here. Good to see you.
Vijay. Yes.
Yeah. So most of them, because I have my friend, okay, so I really play badminton in the morning as well in the evening. So what here is, he couldn't come up for maybe 10 days, maybe 7 to 10 days. So what happened was, I was in an impression, definitely he would have get affected, because I was trying to reach him. I was trying to ask him whether what happened. So is there something positive or something? Because I have my friend over here, he plays with me well, and he just got absconded for 7 days. So what I felt was, definitely I know he got positive, because the way he comes, because he is a very regular player who comes, he is the first one to enter. So what you said, one thing is the physical condition what you have, that does not meet that the immunity what you people have. So that I really saw him for the 10 to 15 days. Then I called him after 20 days, and he got recovered by the remedies, because this all effect comes from the parent, from this father, because you know that last month we had an election, so it was asked it was circulated like anything. So because of that, the effect was more, and he used to go for a drive, he used to go along with the people. So this has been passed with that entire number of people. Like because of this, you can see that pandemic was worsened for this month because of those reasons. Because I do see the people in the buses, they don't even wear masks. Out of 50 people, I can see only one people is wearing a mask. Because I go along with my wife for the last 1.5 years. I haven't used the bus. Even if it is 30 kilometers, I go by my bike. Okay, so I have my kid. So even my kid is wearing a mask. People are saying not to wear a mask. For the last 6-7 months, he is wearing a mask. He goes out, he wears a mask. But still, I'm seeing the people like 40% or 50% of people are not wearing a mask.
No, this is an excellent point, Vijay. Thanks for bringing it again. This is another request I wanted to make. See, what happens is, because we're not seeing the virus as in front of us, we always tend to underestimate. I know, compared to, and you guys can agree or not, in the phase 1, there were a lot of care about using sanitizers, washing hands, and even when the courier comes, even the food delivery used to come, we used to wash the packet and this and that, all that happened. But I didn't see that in the second phase at all. Many people are stopped using sanitizer at home, and whatever courier comes, we just take it and put it there, and we have taken it a little casually. But I can clearly see, like what Vijay said, because of elections or because of any other reasons, since as a society we have relaxed, it is quite possible that the spread is in the air. And going by the peak and all of things, probably we just need to be more vigilant for next 4 weeks. If you look at the entire month of 4 weeks, if you can get through that fast, then at least the numbers will start reducing. That will give you a lot of psychological comfort. But at the individual level, I think we should step up that vigil. In fact, the community where I'm living here, even now I'm not allowed to step out because technically I don't have a negative report. But we also said no point in even trying for that. We just stay home rather than trying to go out. But more importantly, I implemented a rule that anybody who's stepping out has to have a double mask. So that's what is happening in the media. Even doctors are saying, I haven't listened to it more carefully, but I'm hearing it again and again, that use of double mask is being strongly advised. And for us, given the overall scenario, I think the next 4 weeks is going to be critical for us. It is not just the Bangalore and Delhi which will get numbers. The numbers will get worse in all our cases. So we should expect things to become worse from here. At the same time, if you are careful, if you implement our isolation a little bit more, sanitization and mask, maybe it will be very, very useful. Because it's a big difference. You just don't realize the COVID positive and the normal thing. And only when it hits you, you realize. And like I said, one of the worries I have is the panic which will hit the family. We now also raise this issue, right? One is your own level, but I think our own people, all the people who are our crewmates, I don't see them panicking a lot. Maybe a very small percentage might be a little worried. But I don't think, given our age profile and what we have seen, people not panicking much. But you can't prevent your parents from getting panicked by looking at you. That is for sure. And worst thing is, if something happens to your aged parents, then your panic is very different. That is real. Right? So I am worried about these two cases, and the only solution we have in hand is, like I said, preparation and increasing your knowledge. If you guys are watching television, please watch this channel, CNN IBN. This is the channel which Rajdeep Sardesai conducts this medical FAQs with doctors. So unlike the larger issue like WHO, they don't talk about all this. They talk about this practical thing. In fact, many of the points which I told you guys, I picked up from that program. The channel is called CNN IBN. Rajdeep Sardesai is the anchor. He normally brings 3 or 4 doctors and asks very, very specific practical questions which everyone who goes through this part, the role of scan, the role of remdesivir, medicine, medication, the phases, everything he asks, it's very, very useful. I don't know whether it's available in web or not. If it's available also, please go and take a look at it. Very practical and very useful information.
Yeah. Definitely, sir. Definitely. And one more thing, what I heard was like you couldn't be able to find the taste and smell. Is that true, sir?
I wouldn't be able to comment on it because I had food quite happily all those days, but Tanige was having that problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was, yeah.
Comes after the fourth.
Yeah. You couldn't able to smell it, what smell exactly it is and what taste it is. So,
So that is
yeah,
one
some
of
of
the
them are.
strongest symptoms they identify immediately. So
Yeah. So it was from like what I would rather than say is you should be very very careful when you get affected anything, even it is a small cold or fever or whatever it may be, or you have to seek for first 1 or 2. That is one best solution because a live example what I can see is a day before yesterday I just took my sister from Kerala. Okay, so we went by a car, so we have a car. So she told her I'm coming at a what do you mask. She is educated. She told that why I have to wear a mask because I'm coming in a mask. So this was a statement I said. See, even though it is a car, you don't know what is happening outside. Even if we have full doors, like we just covered by the glasses or what air conditioners we are putting, we don't know how we will get affected. It should be very safe, even though when you are sitting in a car also. Then she wear it. So even the literate person, even she is educated, she has done it's a teacher course, B.Ed, MA, BA, MA, and she was doing the same. Okay, so we should be very careful, even the small instances, what exactly we are doing, and whenever you keep your like your fingers somewhere, you should be very careful where you are going to keep it. Even your finger goes for nose, and you don't know whether you wash your hands or what. So the small things you could look into it. So definitely always wash your hands maybe 15 minutes of time or 30 minutes of time. When you are at home, when you go out, you just come and take a bath and take a steam bath. So whatever you do, it's all precautions. So it's all because of your immune system is getting good and you will not get affected. This is one of the suggestions which I would like to say because what I usually do that. Even though I go alone, even though I don't mingle with the people, if I go alone, I'll take a bath. Then I take an inhaler with a turmeric powder, salt, whatever that immune system, you have to do that, then only you go for sleep. So this is one small precaution if we take it. I think that we can go good. So that's the thing I would like to say, sir.
No, you're right, Vijay. I think to answer this question about the taste, right, this is also another example of how the little knowledge can be dangerous. The first few days when my wife was having fever and body pain, her sense of smell and taste was not affected. She was still able to eat rice and things like that. So when we were discussing between us whether it could be COVID, we concluded it's not COVID because her taste and smell is alright. This happened.
Correct.
This is the little knowledge part is always very dangerous. We were ignoring the fever and body pain which is right staring in front of us. But we are concluding by saying that since our taste buds are alright, this is not COVID, this is normal fever. So all kind of crazy things will happen if you are not adequately prepared and informed. It's all underlying belief saying that nothing will happen to us. There's a blind belief which is there. It takes time to overcome that. So please be prepared. Please, I would say on the other side, being cautious. Please even expect something like that to happen, but don't panic. Plan well.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So if there are no other comments, queries, can we conclude? Is there anything you want to add, Divya or Tanige?
Yeah, Mani sir. Another thing I noticed was how social media is playing a role. I've seen many of my friends posting that their grandma needs a bed or some bed.
Your voice is not clear. Come closer. Can you come closer to the mic?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, so on social media, I noticed how so many of my friends started posting that their grandma needed a bed or that they needed some sort of medicine, some sort of help, ambulance and everything, and how immediately they were answered in an hour or so. So I kind of see the trend we were facing during our Chennai where everybody's coming together and helping everybody. So I think it's really important that we stay alert and aware of what is happening around us, because we might be able to help. And there are a lot of news saying that people who have recovered can donate plasma and can donate their blood, or as simple as just providing food or something. So social media is actually really helping out a lot of people. And I've seen my friends, like personally, my friends getting their grandmas admitted in hospitals after posting something on WhatsApp or Instagram. So that was something I wanted to bring up. So
No, absolutely. I think the young folks are already part of WhatsApp. A lot of things are already happening, and this is of great use. And people are able to contribute to the extent they are able to do. Like I said, even it could be a simple thing of giving food. Again, I just want to share my own experience. The place where we live, they've started this practice last year itself, that if family falls ill, but obviously they don't need hospitalization, they're at home care. Like I described earlier, it's very difficult to do even simplest of tasks, right? So they have established a practice for almost 1 full week. We are provided with home cooked food from neighbors for both lunch and dinner for almost entire week. So someone takes the responsibility and they come and give food to this family every day. So these are quite, and I hardly don't even know anybody. Maybe I know a few people who are next to my home, but they do it for the entire community because they realize that this is one way they can immediately do, because you can't order from outside home, you can't cook your own meal. And home cooked food, fresh food coming from neighbors is of great timely help, and that just happens.
Exactly, yeah. And even if you're not able to, donate or anything, just resharing their post or spreading the information, mix them with the right people. So it won't help. I mean, it won't hurt not to, just ignore their posts and everything. It's always good that the youngsters are aware and trying to help.
Yeah, I think talking to others, spreading the news, and especially us people should be, I'm hoping that we'll be more informed than many of our colleagues and the people who are at a disadvantage. So wherever we are, I think the immediate surroundings, if you are able to spread even a little bit of knowledge and help which we can do, this is of great use.
Yeah.
Or simple thing, you can even buy oximeter and give it to people. So it's available to deliver, whatever way in which you can do. Because these are things which people don't think of. And this is not part of our normal life. Right? COVID is a completely different scenario. A typical household is not prepared. But these make huge difference. But the example I told you about my colleagues, my wife's colleague, I'm sure they did not have oximeter at home. And here we are assuming that he has. So we keep calling him and saying, tell me your oxygen level. Don't cry, tell me your oxygen level. So that guy, he is not able to tell us that he doesn't have oximeter at home. Because that's, in a typical scenario that people don't want to admit. So he's panicking, he's crying. But it didn't occur to him to buy oximeter before, and it didn't occur to us that he may not even have it. We just take it for granted and kept pestering him, tell me your oxygen value, tell me your oxygen value. So this kind of situation also happens. So for us, definitely, Veena, we can clearly look at people who have access to oximeter. If there is a way to organize something, most of it is online delivery is possible, but we may not be able to deliver directly at home, but maybe we can get it in bulk in our centers and distribute also, it will be useful. Like we did for sanitizers in the first phase.
Yeah.
This time, for whatever reason, I think this oximeter has become a important measure.
Yes, very important.
Yeah. Okay, any other question? Kavya, Kritika, Kannan, Maheshwari, Manisha, Mohan, Nalini, Paniswamy, Prabhakar, Ramya, Ranjit. I already said you can speak in Tamil, English, Hindi, Malayalam, Telugu, any language.
Sir, Arun here.
Yeah.
See, I have some details which I acquired from a doctor. Actually, my wife works for a medical company which provides healthcare, annual healthcare for their.
Yeah, Arun, you have to be a little louder. We are not able to hear you.
1 second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I have some COVID details regarding the general details which I can share with all of you. These were collected from a doctor who is doing the COVID coordination for all the critical patients. So, can I have the permission to share it here? So, it's just take 10 minutes max.
What form is this? Is it some document form or what is it?
No. It is just details which is given. I'm just gonna read it out to all of you. It's just.
Yeah. If it's not going to take a lot of time, then definitely it will be useful.
No, it's gonna just take 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes maximum.
Okay.
So see, basically the virus symptoms we are talking about. This consists of basically around 7 symptoms. And any combination of 4 symptoms, which is like fever, cough, cold, shortness of breath, or breathing trouble. So these combinations is something which we have to look at in the first 2 to 3 days. And exactly on the 3rd day, which is going to happen, is the symptom which all we are talking about, which is unique. That is like loss of smell and taste. So that's going to be the 3rd day and 4th day. So that is where we have to just be careful, people who are suspecting COVID. So after that, I'm just giving a rule for Chennai. The RT-PCR test is, anybody can take it, even without the doctor's advice. They can just walk into any scan center and they can take it. Not a problem. But once they are positive, then they have to go to the medical practitioner or the doctor. They have to just get an advice about the blood test. So they have to do it according to the doctor's advice, not any self-medication. So any about the oxygen level, what we are talking about, anything about 90 and above is considered as normal. So anything dipping after that, then it is concerned. So basically, the oxygen level dips very drastically only for any people who is more than 50 years or senior citizens. So any parents or any relatives who are senior citizens, they have to be careful. We have to take care that oxygen level doesn't dip more than 70. So anything under 80 has to be hospitalized. So this is what the advice what doctor has given. And once the test is done, we have the report. The mild considered as less than 8 is considered as mild for the COVID test, and 8 to 15 is a moderate one, and anything from 16 to 25 is considered as high. So it all depends upon how the people are going to be tested, and the positivity is going to be this way. So this applies only to the people who are getting positive. And negative is given a very general instructions. Follow all the precautions what is needed. Healthy food, wear a mask, use a sanitizer at every point. And the main thing is told is please do not go unnecessarily, avoid the public or private gathering, because anybody can be a carrier and we can become a carrier to affect somebody. So these are some of the details he is given for us.
Sure. Thanks, Arun, for that. See, I would like to add one last point from my side on the precautions, right? See, when during the Jan-Feb time, when the COVID numbers were started to dip as a country, right? A lot of things became, at least trying to become normal, especially travel. Like I said, I had traveled to Hyderabad, Jayawada, all of these places. We made Himalaya travel from Delhi to Bangalore. In the March, around the time we were doing all of this, right? And we don't know how much of that we spread or whether I really got it from my travel, no idea. But when we were looking at our own experience of what are the sources, and my wife was actually going to work. So it was pretty much normal in terms of the, if you imagine the team traveling for work, every day to office, and one guy is going out of town and coming back through the airport and etc. But nothing happened around that time. But in our case, what the trigger was, my wife went to hospital, Manipal Hospital one day. Manipal Hospital is one of the hospitals in Bangalore, corporate hospitals, very famous one, whatever. And she had gone to treat some cyst or something which is there for troubling her for a long time. It's got nothing to do with the COVID and things like that. It is a 1 hour process. Doctor did a OPD, did a stitching and sent her away. But when we look back, we realize that could be the source of origin of COVID for us. Because when we worked out the timelines and the way when she went and look at the fever and the occurrence, like I said, the virus starts after the incubation period, starts showing only on day 4, day 3, like that. When we looked at, we now have to realize, we have to, at least with whatever evidence we have to conclude that hospital visit was the source for carrying the virus into our home, and then it must have spread to me and my other family members. So, which means, like Vijay said about traveling, we also need to be very careful about the places we visit. One, we should try to reduce the visit itself if possible, but even if we have to go, we might think that we're just walking into the next door shop, or we might go to the nearest temple and so on and so forth. But I think we need to be extremely careful about the places where we visit, because if hospital could spread, then other places we can't even be sure about. So at least in my list of next 4 weeks action point, please minimize your visits. As much, of course, many lockdowns are already happening, localized containment and etc. But don't push yourself to visit anywhere if you can avoid it. In addition to whatever precautions we take at the individual level, I think the physical distance is probably the best thing that can be thought of. And we don't think too much when we have to go to a medical shop or a hospital. So even there, please be cautious. For any reason, if you can avoid a travel, please avoid. At least for the next 4 weeks. Then I think things will fall in place. Okay, that's it from my side.
Sir, that is 100% no, sir. Even I recognize, I was just even trying my history where I found, I went for a, I remember I was calling Ashwant also, and we were, I was telling Ashwant I'm going to a dental checkup, and I was to do some filling. And that's where even after that only I really got, after 3 days only I got affected. Then I reckoned, every of my friend was asking, because they know I'm not going out. Everybody, you are not going out, how come you affected? Everybody was asking me the root cause. But I was not able to tell it myself. Then I really figured out probably this is the one thing I might have got come across by visiting the dental clinic. So again I visit, even that's why even after the thing, my sister was not asking me to go to take any test after even you recover, just wait for 5 or 6 days, don't go to any center, because now everything is very rapid. So what the point you was insisting is a really good point, sir. So I really insist everyone not to, unless until if you really required, please don't visit any of these hospitalized or the private medical shops. So please avoid, that is what I feel many are getting spreaded up. Hello?
Yeah, we could hear you, anyway.
Yes. So any last questions?
Oh,
I think you have covered almost everything, sir. So it's just a hope and pray that none of the others in our organization get affected, neither do their near and dear ones. And if by chance anybody does get affected, they have the strength, courage, and the immunity to fight COVID, and they come back strong.
Yeah, I think we should encourage people to reach out to us to take some kind of help if required. Whatever we can do, we will do. And a couple of things also we should look at. I just sent you an email while we were doing this call. I thought of some ideas which we can implement for this COVID as an organization. Take a look at that, and then some of it can be put into practice also.
Sure, sir. I think we had planned a quiz, but I think we'll postpone it to next week in the interest of time. And we really thank you very much, Tanike as well as Divya and all the others who have raised important questions and who have been part of this Super Shanivar and gathered some information about COVID. I think now it is like COVID is just near us. We have to make sure that we don't go and touch it and invite it. It's just that we have to be very careful. And if we do get COVID also, we need to reach out to people who have got it and see how we can help each other and come out of it. So, yeah. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you all.